Hello and welcome to another video, and in this video I conduct a heart-wrenching interview with John Knight, the father of Jason Knight, a UK window cleaner who suffered life-changing injuries after electric current jumped from the cable near where he was working to the pole he was holding. Just before I go on, I would like to say that all the proceeds from this video will be donated to Jason.
My name is John Knight. I'm Jason's father.
Who is Jason?
Jason is a self-employed window cleaner. He also does a whole range of packages from cleaning conservatories, hoovering out gutters, basically an outside cleaning package company guy. He owns his own company, self-employed, and been very successful over the last 2.5 years.
How old's Jason?
Jason's 34 years old at the moment. He's married to Sarah. He's got 3 children. He's got a 7-year-old daughter, and he's got 2 identical twin daughters as well, 18 months old. Jason's got quite a bit of experience. He's been about 4.5 years. He also has a CSCS card, which means he can work on building sites, so he's quite aware of his surroundings, done training. The accident happened approximately midday on the 6th of May. It was a Saturday. The only reason he was working on a Saturday was because of the current crisis with money everyone's going through. He started work in the morning and he was going to do a half a day, and he was actually on his last clean. Jason was working at a detached premises that had an extension on the back, single story, and an extension of a conservatory on the back. The house, the rear of the property is where he was working. There was a pathway down the side, and behind the house is a big open field. It's huge. I think it's even targeted for more development in the future. Jason was in the back garden. He was standing 72 inches in front of the conservatory, which is directly above the power line. He was cleaning the window to his right hand side. It was a small bathroom window. He'd done the rest. He'd done the conservatory roof, and he was finishing off because the wind was getting up and conditions were deteriorating in May. It was the storm coming or something. He said to me he noticed that the spray was being taken from his pole and whipped and thrown backwards towards the fields. At that time he still didn't think there was a problem. He felt he was far enough away from any electrical conductors, but he didn't know what these electrical conductors were. The information that I gathered from the neighbourhood was there were 240 volts and people thought they were isolated. They were 33,000 volts at 14 feet, or I believe it was 14.8 or something they told me. The mist, the spray, aided the jump of the electrical spike, if you like, to his pole. Jason's always been trained, when he's been cleaning windows, working for a company previously, to bring your pole back, rinse the window, as you know, Dave, you rinse the window, and then you release the clamp, and then drop your pole down. Now, he had his hand on the gardener pole he was using, water-fed pole, and then as he reached and touched the second section after he'd removed the clamp to pull it down, because we all know that water-fed poles can sometimes stick, that's when the electrical discharge jumped from the cable, hit the gardener pole just below the brush, and went down through his left arm through the uninsulated part of the pole, because the gardener pole only has the bottom part insulated, so the second section, and then the charge went down his arm just narrowly missed his heart and down through his legs.
Was it just a quick zap he got?
We don't know. I'll be honest. We're not sure. The discharge was enough to blow him from where he was standing approximately I'd say about 8 feet away from where he was standing. It blew his shoes off and 2 toes were almost disintegrated. It burnt the grass where he was standing. Jason's informed me that when he kind of come to a little bit, he couldn't use his left arm. His hand was closed completely. He tried to stand, he couldn't. His legs wouldn't support his weight. And he kind of crawled with his right arm to try to get the attention of the homeowner who was in at the time. But he collapsed and passed out leaning against the conservatory.
So he didn't actually touch the cable with the pole, it arced?
We're now confident that we've had the pole examined by Alex Gardner from Gardner Poles, who has been so kind and supportive during this terrible time for the family. Alex has written to us and said, after examining the pole, the entry point of the strike of electricity is accurate to an actual lightning bolt rather than being an actual touch to a conductor. Apparently the pole, when it hits a conductor, it will actually explode and split. Well, Jason's pole, it's got a small hole, which I will show you.
So what sort of injuries did he have from the incident?
Life-changing injuries. The first 10 to 14 days, we didn't know if he was going to live or die. When they assessed him at the scene, they quickly established that it was a high voltage electrocution, and called the Wiltshire Air Ambulance to pick him up, which landed in the adjacent field that he was working. I wasn't allowed to see Jason at the time. The 3 medics from the helicopter and the crew from the ambulance were consistently working with him. I believe he was put on ketamine, which apparently makes you drift in and out and lose consciousness. I took a quick peep through the gap in the fence where I could see his feet were black. His left arm was completely black all the way up. His face was all burnt. His ears were burnt. It was an awful sight. I'll never forget the rest of my life.
How did you feel when you saw him?
Confused, distraught, scared. I knew it was really serious when the air ambulance was there. I knew it was life-threatening. There's no real words to describe the feeling when you're watching your loved one fighting possibly for their life at that moment. Jason's journey to the hospital was in an air ambulance. Like I said, it was the Wiltshire Air Ambulance. The pilot, who I had the pleasure of meeting, he comforted me and said, "Don't worry, I'll get him there in 10 minutes." And with that, they brought Jason out and they loaded him into the back of the helicopter. And within moments, he was on his way.
What was the assessment of when he got to hospital?
The original assessment I wasn't there for. We basically jumped in the car and we took ourselves off to Southmead, which is in Bristol. It's about a 30-mile drive for us. So by the time we got there, I think it was about 50 minutes had gone, something like that. And as we arrived and parked and run into the A&E, the nurses was waiting for us and guided us into a separate part of the A&E hospital, which was a little bit more like a serious room. And Jason was led there with some surgeons over him and nurses, and they explained that they'd already told him his possibility he's going to lose his arm. He was okay. He was a little bit obviously shook up. He was confused. He was told it was an electrical discharge, and he was kind of. He was almost like saying sorry to me. He said, "Dad, I don't understand." He said, "My pole is insulated. I don't understand." And then as they were just saying to us, "We've got to get him into theatre now." Obviously, we didn't know about presenting at that time.
Could you explain about presenting?
Presenting is something that I don't think many people know about. Presenting is once you have an electrical shock of that magnitude. I'm not sure how far down the spectrum it is. I'm not sure. But what happens is the body is actually, parts of your body is actually killed. So it doesn't show itself at that moment. That's why it's called presenting. But it means that there is unreversible damage to your body that has to be operated on within a specific time scale, or you are in danger of dying. Like I said, at that point we didn't know nothing about presenting. We would just thought that he's alive, he looks fine, they're going to maybe operate on his arm and we'll see what happens. So that was it really. But the one thing that moved me more than anything was Jason, being Jason, was only thinking about other people. His last words to me as they were taking him to the theatre to amputate his left arm was, "Dad, how can we stop this from happening to other people?" I don't know anyone else who would have said that. He's a brave boy. He's braver than me. I'm so proud of him. But that's Jason. He's always thinking about other people.
And it's not just his arm, is it?
No. Jason was put into an induced coma for 4 days. And during those 4 days, he had, I believe, 2 other surgeries because of the presenting. And we were explained to by the surgeons that were working on him that the shock that he received was huge. He shouldn't be alive. He shouldn't be with us. There was damage done to his internal organs, kidneys, your liver, everything inside. When he was urinating blank. And apparently that was the damage to the kidneys. And we were not sure whether or not he was going to live. We were kind of told that his legs had been badly damaged. At that point we didn't know to what extent, because that's when it exited. The shock come down through the left, went across the chest and then exited through the legs. So his legs then, over the next 4 to 5 weeks, was continually operated on, and he has had up to date 20 operations where they have to keep removing parts of his body. If they don't remove this part of the body that's died, and it's bone, flesh, skin, if it's not removed, it can kill you. Literally, it just rots.
And then that causes sepsis?
I presume so. I didn't go into the details once the surgeons had explained the devastation, the ravage that an electrocution can do, because it's a burn. People have to understand it's a burn. It's just life-changing, life-changing.
So what future treatments has he got coming up?
As of today, Jason is looking to have one more operation. The reason, well, it's not going to be one more, and there'll probably be more to follow, but one massive operation. They've stopped operating for 2 weeks because Jason was showing signs of having a bit of a bad reaction to the anaesthetics. He'd had 20 operations within about 25 days, and it was too much. Your body can't handle that amount of anaesthetic. So what was happening is, when he was awake and he wasn't under anaesthetic, he was having problems breathing. He was put on oxygen one night because of these problems which they associated with the amount of anaesthetic that he'd had. Fortunately, it had gone past the 14-day period, which apparently is an average for presenting. Some people are a bit before, some people are a bit after, but 14 days. So they felt it was safe to keep him stable as he was for the upcoming operation, which is to try to reconstruct his legs. His legs are, it's really hard to describe. The 3/4 of the legs going around to look at from the outside's intact with skin like yours and mine. The rest of it you can see flesh, bone is on display. It's quite harrowing to look at. Very clean, but harrowing. Apparently, in each leg you have 4 compartments. These compartments contain tendons and muscles, which helps you walk, makes you walk. Jason's lost 3 compartments in each leg. They've been completely removed because they were dead, and parts of the bone, half of the foot on the left, half of the foot on the right, that's been removed. He's got 2 toes left on the left foot and 3 toes on the right foot. One of the toes they decided to break and split and join it into the foot to try to give him a little bit more area to weight bear. So that's where he currently is. We understand that the operation is going to be about 12 hours long. It's going to be next Thursday, whatever that date is. I'm sorry I don't have that today. He wants us to be there. He knows it's a massive operation. We've been told by the surgeons it's a massive operation. They're going to steal blood from another part of his legs in the hope that when they take the flesh and the skin from his thighs to try to rebuild his legs to some extent, that will keep that alive. He's worried about it. Specifically yesterday he was very concerned. Had a bit of a breakdown to my wife on the phone. He was speaking to his mum, obviously. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to talk about. If the operation doesn't work, then I'm assuming that the next course of action will be amputation of both legs. I know that once this operation is done, he has to go back to a more of a one-on-one care. Like, he has to go in a temperature-controlled area for his legs to heal. It's still a long way to go. We've got so long. I'm hoping he'll be out by Christmas, you know. I'm hoping, one way or another. I mean, he's alive. He shouldn't be alive.
How is his family coping?
That's a really tough question. His wife is very strong. She's very strong. His two youngest children, they're 18 months old. They don't understand what's going on, but they know that Daddy's not around anymore because he used to play with his children. It was his children is his world. His oldest daughter, she's 7. I'm told she's having secret counselling at school. I'm not sure what that entails. I think she's struggling a little bit as well because now her father's not in her life at the moment. My wife is distraught, his mum is distraught. It's really difficult. It's kind of, it's the last thing that you think about when you go to bed. It's the first thing you think about when you wake up, and every hour in between. You know, there's always something to do or something to say which brings it all back to you again. I've never in my life gone through anything like this, and I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. It's the most harrowing, it's terrible.
So if you would like to help Jason, there's several ways you can do it. First and easiest, that won't cost you anything, is watch as much of this video as you can. Share it, comment on it, like it, whatever you can do. That way YouTube will help more people to see it, and will make more money for Jason that way. Secondly, John is running a Clean for Jason. This is where window cleaners donate the price of one window clean to Jason through his GoFundMe page. I'll put all the details to that in the link in the description below. Thirdly, there is Buy Me a Coffee. Any money that I get donated to my Buy Me a Coffee page within June and July will go directly to Jason. I've broken this video up into 2 parts just to make them a bit shorter. So please, if you haven't already seen it, go and watch part 2 of Jason's story.